If you treated your business the same way you treat your body and its health needs, you'd be bankrupt in as little as 2 to 3 years. Most founders think that the testosterone decline, the mental fatigue, and the lower energy levels every single day are just part of getting old, right? And while that is true, there are so many things in your control that you can start doing today that are gonna help mitigate these effects of aging. I'm gonna show you how to audit your own biology the same way you audit your P&L statements each month, and how you can follow specific protocols to start reversing your metabolic age by 10 years or more. So first off, let's explain what metabolic age actually is. You just heard me say it, right? So I'm going to show you how to reverse your metabolic age. But what does this actually mean? Simply explain, say for example, you are 50 years old chronologically, right? I myself, I'm 21 currently. Again, maybe you are 50, 55, 60 years old chronologically, but maybe you have a 35-year-old metabolic age. And so simply put, that just means you are a healthier individual. You have the health of a average 35-year-old as a chronological 50-year-old. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Chronological age is fixed. You can't actually reverse your age, but metabolically, that can change all the time. You can either have a great and lower metabolic age at a higher chronological age, but what I see all the time is the 55-year-old entrepreneur with a 60 or 70-year-old metabolic age. That obviously means there are some things wrong with their health. But when it comes to determining and measuring your metabolic age, there are three main markers. The first one is VO2 max, basically meaning the maximum volume of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise, right? How efficient your body is at using oxygen. Maybe, you walk up the stairs and you get tired from that. That's a problem, right? But with a higher VO2 max, you don't get as tired so easily. You can work out and you can push for longer having a higher VO2 max. And of course, this is linked to a better metabolic age and overall better health. Next is visceral fat contents, the amount of visceral fat you have in your body. Now, this visceral fat is much different than subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat that you can actually see around your muscles, right? The body fat that all bodybuilders are trying to shred off as much as possible and as fast as possible so they can hop on stage and look incredible, right? Shredded physique, defined muscles. That is subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is a little bit different. It's the fat inside your body wrapped around your internal organs. Very important for your health. It's very metabolically active, super crucial for balancing your hormones correctly, regulating them. But obviously, with more visceral fat, that is linked to risk for chronic diseases. And third here, HRV, the most important one. Such a great marker to determine metabolic age and overall health. As we age, our HRV naturally declines, right? A lower HRV means that you have less heart rate variability. So let's explain it like this. Your heart rate beats a number of times every minute, right? But in between those heartbeats, the variability of those sections in between those heartbeats, if that makes sense, with a lower HRV, your heart rate is going to be faster, less variability, right? A lower HRV. But with a higher HRV, your heart rate is going to be slower. Your body's going to be in that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest state of being. And that's what you want to be in, right? You don't want to always be hyped up, fast heart rate, never digesting, always in that fight or flight mode. That's not what we want. Only when we exercise, but that's, only a small part of the day. Throughout the rest of the day, you want a higher HRV, you want a slower heart rate leading to better health. Now let's think about it. A lower HRV means that you have a faster heart rate every single minute, which is linked to higher stress. What do we see entrepreneurs always have? High stress levels, high cortisol levels. So most entrepreneurs have a low HRV, especially when they are 40 plus years in age. And so again, the most important marker for your metabolic age, for your biology, for your overall health. So this is the one that I focus on most with my clients, making sure that with all of the protocols and processes we go through, we are monitoring this number to make sure that we start to see it increase, that heart rate variability increasing so that we can lower those stress levels. Moving on, let's talk about the silent killers of your metabolic age and overall health in general, right? I have 3 of these silent killers, and the first one is the sedentary red line, right? As an entrepreneur, as a founder, your mind is always on. You're always trying to be focused, aggressive, trying to get as much done as possible, trying to feel and be productive as possible, right? But when your mind is always on, turning on that sympathetic nervous system, again, that fight or flight, when you're releasing all kinds of hormones, but you're not exercising physically, this is what causes the sedentary red line. And the cost of this is lower insulin levels or insulin resistance. Your body is going to stop processing fuel efficiently because it always thinks it's in an environment that it needs to be in that fight or flight mode. But again, as a founder, your mind is always on and you need to be exercising properly to help flush out all of those hormones that are from that fight or flight mode. So I know you just want to work all day, get as much done as possible, but during that, you have to find time to actually exercise, move your body, release good endorphins and dopamine and all types of hormones that are going to avoid the silent killer of your metabolic age and overall health as much as possible. The silent killer number 2 is junk miles, right? And this is just a simple, quote or explanation that I want to explain this as. But what this basically means is doing low ROI activities, right? Okay, you want to be exercising more. So you think, okay, let's go out for, a 45-minute jog outside. That it's not going to give you anything. It's low intensity, but also that 45-minute jog is going to be too stressful to allow and produce deep recovery like active recovery, but also not intense enough to then stimulate new growth. So basically explaining it's just a waste of your time. It's right in the middle of not intense, but also too stressful on your body to where, again, it's just a waste of your time. So it's all about structuring it properly with zone 5 cardio, something slow, again, that active recovery, but also high interval training, something that's going to challenge you like sprints. Sprints is a perfect one, whether you're doing it running or on the bike. That's one of my favorites, right? Going as fast and as hard as you can. It's not a long time. It's short intervals, high intensity interval training on the bike, doing those sprints and then going slow again. So again, junk miles, right? Just doing things that are wasting your time. It's important to have that structure when you are trying to do that exercise as an entrepreneur. And the third silent killer here is nutrient starvation. You have to fuel properly. You can't expect to be able to hop on something like the keto diet, which is basically, if you don't know, cutting out carbs completely from your diet. People think, especially founders, they think that carbs are the enemy, that too many carbs are going to make you fat. I'll tell you this right now, too much of anything is going to make you fat. It's all about energy in versus energy out. When you are consuming more energy than you expend in anything, protein, carbs, or fats, it doesn't matter, you are going to gain fat, both visceral and the subcutaneous fat like we talked about before. So energy in versus out. But if you completely cut out carbs, this is what happens. This is why you're hitting that 2 p.m., 4 p.m. energy crash every single day, being reliant on stuff like caffeine just to get through the workday and be productive. If you didn't know, your brain uses 20% of your daily glucose consumed. When you cut out carbs, there is no carbs and glucose to take for your brain. So what your body does is it moves to the liver. This process is called glucogenesis. We don't have to talk too much about it, but that's when your liver has to then create energy for your brain when you don't actually get the nutrients needed. So nutrition, properly fueling your body and your brain as a founder, that is crucial. And when you're going for, the processed foods, the fast food as a founder, because you just want a quick meal, something that's convenient and you can get back to work as fast as possible, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's an operational inefficiency that is costing your performance. Now we can get to the good stuff, the CEO protocol, exactly what you need to be doing to decrease that metabolic age from your chronological and actually improve your overall health. I wanted to keep things as simple as possible for you. So I have the 3 main things that you should start focusing on and being more cognizant of today as a founder. The first one is training. Again, it's proper training. And I want to talk specifically about strength training, right? We'll talk about cardio in a second, but first off, strength training, not just for muscles. We're not trying to grow big biceps. We are training for performance. All it needs to be is 3 to 5 days a week, 45 to 60-minute sessions. Keep it simple and keep it intense. There are so many benefits with proper strength training, but the one I love to tell people most is that muscle tissue burns more calories at rest than fat tissue does, right? So when you are training properly, you are growing and putting more muscle mass onto your body frame. Your body is going to burn more calories at rest because it's harder for your body to maintain that muscle tissue rather than having fat tissue. That's easier, right? So this is where the longevity game comes in. You're going to be healthier for longer with more muscle mass on your frame, not just to look good, but to feel better and make being in a calorie deficit, for example, easier. Again, you are going to burn more calories at rest in addition to how many calories you do with active movement throughout the day, right? There's both active calories burned and resting calories burned. Both are important, but with resting calories, summing up most of the total calories that you burn each day, it's easier to burn more with more muscle mass on your frame. Number 2 is zone 2 and zone 5 cardio. So again, cardio is important for overall heart health, HRV, VO2 max like we talked about, but you have to do it the right way. Zone 2 cardio, for example, is a very slow pace. It's not walking, but it's a light jog. Basically explained, if you don't have any wearable smartwatch or ring, Whoop or something to tell you what zone you're in, because it can tell you if you do have one. But if you don't, how you can measure if you're in zone 2 cardio is if you can have a comfortable conversation, just as I'm having now, but you're obviously moving at the same time. You shouldn't be able to, comfortably sing, for example. There's a fine line to find it, and it's obviously easier to find that zone 2 to be in. But zone 2 cardio, super important. It's actually low intensity. It allows you to recover and actually get some proper blood flow throughout your body and your brain, right? It's very important. This should be about, again, 3 to 5 times per week, 30 to 60 minutes. Slow, low intensity, and it's a good pace. Zone 5 cardio, that's that high intensity stuff, right? So this is where that high intensity interval training, that HIIT workout comes in. This could be 10 seconds of all-out sprinting, hill sprints with, a 60 to 90 second rest. It could be, like I explained, the stationary bike, sprinting on that, but it's the high intensity for a short amount of time, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then rest for a longer period of time. And for example, zone 2 cardio is going to help with those HRV levels, and zone 5 cardio is going to help with your VO2 max, but both are important for overall health. Thirdly, here we've got sleep. And I could not tell you enough about sleep. There are so many amazing benefits and processes that happen when we sleep. But one of the most amazing ones is mental waste removal. So the best way I like to think about this and explain it is like your camera roll on your phone. You take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, but it only has a certain amount of space until eventually you're trying to take another picture or video and your phone says, your storage is used up. You've got to either delete some things or upgrade and pay for this storage addition, whatever. The same thing goes with your mental capacity. All the things that you have in your head, every memory, everything that you've learned, everything in your head, it only has a certain amount of space. And so sleep, that's where we can actually remove the stuff that don't actually matter. Remove the things that we don't really need to remember so that we can keep on absorbing and learning other things. But when you're not getting enough sleep, this process doesn't happen at all or just as efficiently as it should be. And as a founder, this is going to start to increase your stress levels. As you can tell, it is all about stress. Stress is one of the main inhibitors of amazing health for everybody. But when you're not getting enough sleep, you're not able to actually remove that waste that you don't need. It's just going to add on more stress onto your life and into your mental health. And sleep is the one thing that most people put off until they need it, until the weekend, and then they try and catch up on sleep. It doesn't work like that, right? You get 4 hours of sleep 5 days out of the week, and then you try and get 10 hours for 2 days or 2 nights of the week. It doesn't work like that. It has to be consistent, 7 to 9 hours every single night in order to get all of the benefits. So again, I wanted to keep this as simple as possible. 3 parts of the CEO protocol that you can start implementing into your routine and lifestyle today. Proper training, strength training in the gym or at home, whatever it may be. You can proper cardio, again, another part of training, sleep, and the one I'm missing here that we talked about a little bit is just nutrition. I can't tell you enough about that either, right? You have to fuel the engine to actually give the performance and produce the performance that you want to see from your body, from your mind, for your business. Reversing your metabolic age. Everything we just went through is a lot of information. I hope it all made sense. Of course, like always, if it didn't, make sure to leave any questions you may have in the comments below. It can kind of seem like a very complex problem that you're going through, but that's very deep into it. On the surface level, keep it as simple as possible. Get consistent exercise every single day. Properly fuel your body. Get good sleep at night. Manage your stress levels. Keep it as simple as possible, and you get such amazing results. At the end of the day, it's not about getting bigger biceps or growing muscle mass and losing fat. It's about longevity and true amazing health that is going to give you and produce results for a lifetime. Your business cannot outgrow you. So if you're ready to stop managing your decline, stop using the excuse that this is just part of aging. We've talked about it. That's true, but there are so many things in your control that you can start doing today to start reversing that metabolic age. Everything that we talked about today and more is exactly what I do with all my clients in Legacy Fitness Coaching. If you have any interest at all in what I do and what I can potentially do for you and your business, I have a link in the description. You can apply to work with me one-on-one and help you finally achieve the results you have always wanted to see with your physique, but also with your performance. Make sure you guys check out all the other YouTube videos that I've posted, and I'll see you in the next one.